You type npm install, and every package in that tree can run code before your code does. Not your dependencies code, arbitrary shell commands with your permissions on your laptop before a single line you wrote has executed. That was the default for 16 years. This month it stopped being the default, and most pipelines have not noticed yet. Here is the scale nobody quotes properly. Across 2025, attackers published roughly 455,000 malicious open-source packages, not 455 incidents. 455,000 artifacts sitting in registries waiting for a typo or a transitive pull. The registry was never a library. It was a delivery mechanism, and we kept calling it a library. The mechanism is boring, which is exactly why it survived. A package can declare 3 lifecycle scripts: pre-install, install, and post-install. npm runs them in that order, silently during installation. Only after all 3 have finished does anything you actually wrote begin to execute. 3 windows on every package, on every install, on every machine in your company. And these scripts do not run in a sandbox. They run as you. That means your SSH keys, your cloud tokens, your npm credentials, your browser profile, everything your own account can reach is inside the blast radius of a package you have never heard of, 4 levels down a tree you never read. We accepted that trade because installing was fast, and fast felt like free. This is not theoretical. A North Korea-linked campaign abused those hooks against real, widely installed packages, including Axios and the AI agent framework Mastra. And then on the morning of the 14th of July, 2026, 5 malicious versions landed across 4 packages in the async API namespace. Remember that third one. It behaves differently from the other 2, and by the end of this video that difference is the whole story. So this month, GitHub did something registries almost never do. It did not add a scanner. It did not publish a best practices blog post. It changed the default, and accepted that it would break builds all over the world on the way. npm version 12 ships with allowScripts set to off. Pre-install, install, and post-install scripts coming from your dependencies do not run anymore, not unless your project explicitly allows that specific package. 16 years of implicit trust, replaced by an opt-in list you have to write down and look at. And here is the part your continuous integration is about to discover the hard way. The block is not limited to declared scripts. If a package ships a binding .gyp file and declares no install script at all, npm still runs an implicit node-gyp rebuild for it, so that package is blocked too. Every native module in your tree just became something you have to name out loud. Version 12 went further than scripts. Git dependencies and other non-registry, remote sources are opt-in now as well. That one GitHub:// line you added years ago because a fix had not been released yet. It is a decision now, not a shortcut. You have to reapprove it in writing. The entire fix is one word in a config file. Off, 16 years of incident reports, stolen credentials, drained wallets and emergency rotations, and the correction fits in 3 letters. That is not a criticism of the fix. That is what a good security change usually looks like: embarrassingly small, and impossible to ship until enough damage justifies breaking everyone's build. Now the uncomfortable part, and the reason I wanted to make this video at all. The most recent significant npm compromise would have walked straight through this new default. Turning install scripts off is genuine hardening. It is not the fix that most of the people celebrating it think they just received. Hold that thought. I want to show you what the honest checklist looks like first. Start with the least glamorous control there is. Use npm ci instead of npm install in automation. It installs strictly from the lock file, refuses to quietly resolve a newer version, and gives you a tree you can actually reproduce next Tuesday. Half the supply chain incidents I have read about begin with a machine resolving a version nobody chose. It helps to think of the registry the way you would think of a card catalog. The catalog tells you a thing exists and where to find it. It has never told you the thing is safe, or that the person who filed the card is the same person who wrote the book. We invented that reassurance ourselves, because typing install and waiting 9 seconds feels like a transaction with an institution. Second control, a cooldown. Refuse to install any package version younger than 24 to 72 hours. Malicious releases tend to get caught and yanked within hours, by researchers, by maintainers, by other people's incidents. A cooldown is you deciding on purpose that you will never be the first customer of a brand new version. It costs you nothing but patience, and patience is the cheapest security control ever invented. Third, watch the exits. Most people harden what comes in and never look at what goes out. Put an egress allow list on your build runners, so a compromised dependency that does manage to execute cannot post your environment variables to somebody's endpoint. If your continuous integration can reach the entire internet, then so can anything it accidentally runs. So there is your honest list. 4 controls: lock file pinning, a dependency cooldown, an egress allow list on continuous integration, and credential rotation on a schedule rather than after an incident. Each one covers a stage that install script blocking demonstrably does not. And notice how unfashionable all 4 of them are. No vendor sells you a dashboard for patience. Back to Async API, because this is the part almost every write-up skipped. That payload never touched an install script. It sat inside the module itself and fired the moment application code imported it, which means npm version 12 with allowScripts off, installing that exact package, would have been perfectly quiet, and then your own program would have detonated it on the first require. The chain is uncomfortably simple. The install is clean. Your application imports the module. Top-level module code runs, because that is what importing means in JavaScript, and the payload executes with exactly the same permissions it would have had at install time. Blocking lifecycle scripts closed one door in a building with a great many doors. Which points at the actual question. It was never really about when a malicious payload runs install time, import time, first request, some Tuesday in November. It is about how somebody else's code got published under a package name your team already trusted. Fix the timing and you win a round. Fix the publishing and you win the fight. And that is why the most important thing in this release is not the thing in the headlines. It shipped alongside the script change, it got a fraction of the coverage, and it is aimed directly at the publishing problem rather than the execution problem. npm has started deprecating granular access tokens that were configured to bypass two-factor authentication. Those tokens are how most package takeovers actually happen, not a clever exploit, but a long-lived credential in somebody's automation, fished or scraped or committed to a public repository 3 years ago and never rotated. From early August, those bypass tokens stopped being able to perform sensitive actions on your account, your packages, or your organization. The recommended replacement is trusted publishing, a short-lived identity issued to a specific workflow by the platform itself, expiring in minutes with nothing worth stealing left behind. No secret in a settings page. Nothing for a leaked token to unlock next year. I want to defend the breakage, because a lot of people are going to spend next week angry at it. A default that breaks builds is a default somebody was willing to defend in public. Every safe default you enjoy today, HTTPS everywhere, same origin policy, signed binaries, was, at some point, a breaking change that made a great many engineers furious for fortnight. So type it again, npm install. Same 9 characters you have typed 10,000 times, except now nothing runs until you say a package name out loud and mean it. Here is what I keep turning over. We only got this because attacks got expensive enough to justify breaking everybody's build. So what is the next default we are all still quietly paying for that nobody has broken yet?